Okay guys, it's been a while since we shot a video on this sawmill. We're making some changes, and I kind of wanted to update y'all guys out there that are following our post on the sawmill and our other YouTube videos. We had some issues. I'm 6 foot tall, and we had made this thing, you know, as you see, it goes 6 foot is about up to here, and I had the crank up here, the boat winch up here, and it was getting difficult once I put it on the tracks for me to reach up and grab it and actually you know, lift the sawmill head up. So I decided to change that, and I'm continually making changes on this sawmill just to see what changes and how they affect it when I make these changes. For those of you who follow me, you know where I started out. I had the actual Acme screw rods in the corners, and I had a chain set up on the top with sprockets to pick it up and down. Well, that worked fine. It's great. There was nothing wrong with that. Then I went to the boat winch because I seen a couple other guys on YouTube doing the same thing, and I wanted to try that. Well, that worked fine too, but sometimes you'd have a little problems with the actual cables when they go into the winch overlapping themselves. Let me get over here to the winch. On this old boat winch, you'd have problems with the cables overlapping themselves. When you pull from opposite directions, and it would be uneven on one side or the other. Not a lot, but just enough to make a difference in the cutting of the log. So back to the sawmill, I went ahead and this is the third time I've made a change on the lifting mechanism, and so far, you know, I think this is going to work out a whole lot better than any of the other two that I had. I went in and I had an old piece of shaft here, 1-inch shaft, and I've got an old cheap lathe over here. It ain't much, but it'll get the job done. There's junk all over it right now, but this is all I have to machine with, so you know I have to make that work. I went ahead and machined it because it was a little tight going into the bearings, to where I could get the shaft to set in the bearings on each side. And I didn't have any actual shaft with keyway in it, so I found a little piece I had, and I just welded it to this end here. And I know a lot of y'all gonna say, man, you're welding this crappy. Yeah, it is. I'm 60 years old and barely see where I'm walking, much less weld, but I can make do with what I got. So for y'all that are gonna critique my welding, get after it. I mean, there's nothing else I can do or say. When you get my age, you'll see how difficult it is to see and do things that you used to do when you was 20 years old. It's not the same. I also found out that I tried on here some of the garage door pulleys that are 4 inches in diameter, and I would put that on here and then wrap the cable, because it had little grooves in it that would wrap around. It would go up real nice and neat. Well, I found out that that wasn't going to work either, because what would happen is the diameter of the pulley here versus the diameter of the pulley here and the diameter of the pulley here put a real heavy load on it up here. And I decided that was just too much pressure down here when I was cranking it to actually work with. So I went ahead and took those pulleys off, and I just, you know, rigged me up a little body washer, 3 of them, welded them together here, and then just welded the cable, of course. It doesn't look pretty, but it works great. And when I'm cranking it up, these cables kind of line themselves when I go up or down. Let me go up so you can see it. And it works fine. Then I had to think of, well, what I'm going to use for a ratcheting mechanism. And I'm no rocket scientist, but I come up with this crap. I took a piece of tubing or pipe, and I took a piece of round stock, run it through it, welded me in here. I took a car shim and welded to the bottom here. On this end, I just took a piece of rebar to make me a handle. That way I can release it when I want to go down. And then I put me another car shim over here, and I put a spring in the middle. So as you see, it ratchets off of that top sprocket there and locks everything in place. And what's good about that is, if I didn't want to measure, for every 6 clicks, it's a 1/2 inch. For every 12 clicks, it's exactly 1 inch. So that'll take a lot of guesswork out of my, you know, my sawmill, my logs on our slabs or whatever I might be cutting. That'll help me know when I'm raising or lowering the saw exactly how much it's going to be. It took a little rigging to get this done. And I got some help from a couple of other guys out there on YouTube. I think Don DIY was, man, this guy, if you haven't seen his videos, you need to check him out. He's got some awesome stuff out there. And everything he has is first class. Like I said, I go back to the reason why I dropped this down. It just was actually too tall. So if you're deciding to build a sawmill, even at the height I've got it at, man, you can still cut a 46, 48 inch log. I just went way too high on the height of it when I was actually building it. As you see here, I just used some turnbuckle. It's stainless. I was running some old cheaper stuff and they was giving out. They was coming loose on me. I also went in and re-supported the engine plate. I noticed that over time it was kind of sagging down a little bit because the steel I used here was too thin. So if you're building a sawmill, anything similar, just make sure you spend the money on some good steel here. My motor weighs 93 pounds and this is all that's holding it. So I came over here and I supported a little bit right here on the corner where the handle's at. And then I went underneath it, I'm not sure if you can see it, and I put me another plate there just to give it a little added support. Like I said, these are things that I've learned over the time. You know, it's you just put something together and hope it works right, and most of the time it does, but then you see it needs improvements and you have to make them as you go along. I even added, initially this was just a single post structure all the way down, and I had to add this and this add-on, which is 1.5 inch thin wall square tube, and it's not the thick stuff, just to be able to rig up this hand crane. It was almost impossible for me to put it up here on this area. So a lot of y'all asking, well, why did you add that? That was the reason for that. I had to find a way to rig up the crank handle, and it does give it a little more stability. As far as the saw working properly before, it worked fine. I didn't have any problems with it, but to get the actual lifting mechanism handle crank in here, I had to come out there. As you see here, I just took another small sprocket, welded me some 1.5 inches here, 1.5 inches here. Took me a piece of old pipe, put it on that old raggedy lathe I got over there, and machined it down big enough to put 2 flange bearings in there. It's hard to see them, one on this side, one on this side. So when I squeeze them together, they stay in place. And I cut me some threads on the end here just to hold all this together. Yeah, might be a little trouble later on when I want to replace something up here. I spot welded all this temporarily, and I'll crank these screws down. There's no keyway in the shaft, so I'm going to have to rely on the welds and the 2 keyways to hold that. And believe it or not, there's lots of pressure on there. But yeah, back to the lifting mechanism. That's what we decided to do today. Shoot this video and pass it on to y'all guys that are following some of our YouTube videos. Hey guys, if you really gained anything from this video, man, please hit the like and subscribe button. We're struggling here on YouTube. We're not one of these millionaire channels that have, you know, 1 million views a week or month. We're just out there on a budget, trying to put some stuff out there to help y'all guys that are interested in doing what we do. If you've got any questions, post them below. I'll be glad to answer them. Like I said, I'm no engineer, no rocket scientist, and no welder by far, but I'll give you any information I can to help you out on this project. Again, if you hit the like and subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it. Stay tuned for future videos. We're going to put some more out there. We're going to make a few more changes. We just like to toy with it. It's a passion for us. And just to give you a quick shot of what we've been cutting lately. Cut some nice mesquite here. Really nice grain in it. And then we cut some old cedar. Turned out real nice. I prefer the cedar because it doesn't heat the blades up when you start dealing with mesquite and everything else. That old hardwood, you go through some blades here quite quickly. There's a couple more pieces of old cedar we run through the old mill. For an old backwoods homemade job, she does a pretty good job for us. It ain't no commercial sawmill like the big commercial ones you see that are mass manufactured. But it does what I need it to do. It gets the job done. Again, y'all guys, thanks for watching.